What's going on, guys? We are back. We're going to talk about the top 10 players going into the Rocket League World Championship, according to me at least. Before we get there, I want to really quickly hit on Fantasy Rocket League, some pick'em stuff, and all that. So we're going to briefly go through that quickly and then go right into our top 10. So I want to move over here. So if you want to compete against me in Fantasy Rocket League and all that stuff, then there is a way to do it, and we'll explain it right now. So let me make sure I'm on the right tab. Here we go. So first, you can go to fanrl.com. I believe that is the URL. I will link it in the description below. But basically, I have a league. Before you see my team, if you want to make your own team to compete against me without knowing who I picked, pause the video and then come back. All right, let's show you my team really, really quick. We have a league. It's called the Gibbs League, I believe. But here's my team that I'm going with. Really quickly, a brief explanation. I didn't think about this too hard. This is the first time I'm doing Fantasy Rocket League on this side. I did win way back. I can't remember. It was like season 4 or something. I was the top overall Fantasy Rocket League player. Thank you, OCE. I think it was season 5 or something like that. I'm not even sure. But I went with a lot of picks that were going up against weaker wildcard teams because I think these teams or these players can pad stats in wildcard. It goes by average goals per game, assists per game, yada yada. So I went mostly with that, and then I went with First Killer as well on defense because First Killer just puts up numbers no matter what he does, good or bad on phase. So that is my team. The league is the Gibbs League. A few people have seen it already, I think. I don't know where it is. I don't know why it's not popping, but it is the Gibbs League. Just go for a search there. Number 2, I wanted to talk about really, really quickly. See if this works. Here we go. Oh, this is the Gibbs League. There's some league on fan. Yeah, figure it out. You'll find me. Like, I'll link it in the description below. This one is the Pick'em League. So this is pickstop.gg. This is the first time I'm doing it on their site. But basically, as you know, my predictions that were already in, you pick who goes 3-0, who goes 0-3, a couple other small things here or there. And then this is the Gibbs League if you want to join. It's public, so that's why some people have already joined. Moving on. Let's get into one last thing. Half.flip.site or .com. I can't remember. I'll link it in the description below. But this is a fun one where you can win some Rocket League credits. So I thought these were fun community things going on. And you can do picks on some fun things like one of my favorites is who will score more goals in their best of 7 series, Raise Bull or the whole team of Valiant. So things like that. But these update after every single wildcard round, so you can have some fun there and try and win. I think it's like 5,000 credits or something like that. So these are all a lot of fun, community-driven sites that are making the World Championship a better viewing experience for you because you'll be able to root for certain things. So definitely go check them out. Now, let's get into the top 10. First, we're going to start with 11th best, and I'm going to try and crop this a little bit because I'm going to have to edit while I do this. So it looks nicer. We'll just do a little bit of that and a little bit of this. But basically what I did was there's a lot of players that could be top 10. I could probably just expand it, right? Bam. Yeah. All right, look at that. Edited on the fly. There's a lot of players that could be top 10. And I had a hard time picking just 10. So I decided to name 10 other players that could have been in that top 10. Could have snuck in to the 10th spot. I think you got the 2 Team Liquid boys, Otto and Oski. You got the 2 Complexity boys, Raise Bull and CRR. You got Roas, Seiko, Itachi, Drafinho, Rodosin, and TRK. Those are the people that just missed out on my list. And then let's move up into the top 10. Now, based on this, you probably know what the top 10 is going to kind of look like. I also have to bring up my document on my side. Here we go. Boom. Got it. All right. Let's go through my top 10 entering worlds. Top 10 lists are weird. Just listing players in general are weird. Like I know that Johnny and the boys do top 25 predicted players going into the event. And I'm not trying to predict how these players will do. I think just entering worlds, if I had to make a top 10 list, this is probably what it would be. It's, again, very difficult. On any given day, one of those other 10 players that I listed could pop onto this list. But for now, this is what I got. So, starting off, and this might be a little bit biased, but I'm going to go with Joyo at number 10. I think what he's doing on Moist is still fantastic. I think he might not be on the best team right now to showcase his skills, but I still think he's a very talented player, has an incredible peak, and I think he makes this list just barely. It could be a little biased because I do really like Joyo as well. But I'm going to go with number 10. I'm going to go with Joyo. I think this offseason, I want to see Joyo find a super team again. Like, his team's good. I'm not saying this team is like terrible, but I think he could do better. And I want to see what that team looks like. Moving on, I'm going to go with a player that just showcased his skills at Boston. I think I'm spelling this right. I can't remember. These spellings are crazy. We're going to go with Clears. There might be two L's. I can't remember. I think it's just two I's. I don't know. He showed up, like, the one question mark around him. He had a great season in Mina. He just won the MVP. The one question mark was, how will he do against international competition? Well, he played fantastic. I put him at number 9 because, like, it was one event, and there's still time to grow. I am a little bit worried about Rule 1. Like, I know they finished top 4. I don't think they're a top 4 team necessarily. So we'll see how that all plays out. But for now, I think he's a very talented player, and I put him at number 9. Moving on, let's go to Exotic. I think I spelled this right too. There's some capitals in there, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go with Exotic at number 8. I think he's been doing fantastic on the K-Corp side. I think a lot of people will just say Vatira for K-Corp, but you don't compete against Vitality toe-to-toe or even the new BDS toe-to-toe with just Vatira. I think Exotic, even at Boston, the offensive capabilities by him and Itachi, that's why Itachi was on that other list, were fantastic. There was times when Vatira was invisible on the field, not really invisible, but he was not doing as much. But it doesn't matter because there is a 3-headed horse, I guess. So Exotic, I think, is the one that I think has a lot of talent on that squad, and I think he gets overshadowed by Vatira a lot. So I'm going to go with Exotic at number 8. Moving on. We're going to go with Apparently Jack. I always spell apparently wrong. I don't know why. It's just one of those words. I want to put another A or something. I'm not sure. I think this is right. Apparently Jack, number 7. He moves over from Europe to NA and just shines. Like, this whole year has been fantastic for him. He's really led the squad of Gen G to the number 1 overall seed in North America. By the time this video comes out, the MVP might be announced, but I assume it'll be Apparently Jack. I actually don't know who the MVP is, but I assume it'll be Apparently Jack for the North America MVP. But his 1v1 skills, obviously, are fantastic. Can do so much with the ball, but also just the teamwork aspect of Gen G entirely really leads him to shine as well. He doesn't only have to do the 1v1 stuff. He will look for that open man, look for the pass. And he also leads that team, which I don't know if that necessarily plays a factor here because, like, does that matter in terms of just top 10 player? Like, I guess it does. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Apparently Jack here. Spoilers, this is the only North American-born player that I have on this list, and we're moving on to First Killer. First Killer is just a beast. He is absolutely insane. I think it's been... Oh, wait. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be Rise, then First Killer. So let's do Rise first, then we'll do First Killer. I got ahead of myself. I got so excited to talk about First Killer that let's talk about Rise. Rise is a unique character, right? Where it's like not necessarily all the time on the field. It looks like he is like the guy on the team. But the stats don't lie. Like, the roster moves don't lie. When he leaves a team, that team falters. When he joins a team, they succeed. He does have his moments, obviously. Like at Boston with BDS, he had some series where it's like Rise could not be stopped. Rise, very talented player. I expect him to win a world championship, like Wave Funk has said in a video. I think it was for winter, there was a video, or maybe it was fall, where it's like, if there's one player I think that will win a world championship soon, it's going to be Rise. And you know what, Wave? I think you're pretty spot on there. He's been so good with so many different teammates, and that is very, very difficult. We always say, like, plug in your best player, right? Just plug in whoever's best to a team, and you hope it works, right? With Rise, there's no question. That is going to work. compared to maybe a few other players like a Daniel, where like they plug in, takes a little bit of time, right? Like V1 could be a powerhouse, but not yet. So it's not always about just your individual skill. It's how do you play with teammates. And Rise, obviously, we've seen it throughout this year. 3 majors on 3 different teams, and now is going into the World Championship as a favorite to win it all, right? He's one of those top 3 favorites that everyone expects one of those teams to win this World Championship. So Rise could get that World Championship here. Now moving on. Sorry. Got so excited about First Killer. All right, moving on. First Killer, the only North American player I have right now in the top 10. I think First Killer has dropped a bit just because it's been a shaky spring for FaZe. And sometimes FaZe or First Killer cannot bring them out of it. And that's like the one concern, right? Is can he make his teammates better? Like, is it First Killer's fault when his teammates falter? Or is it more just his teammates and he's had bad luck? And I think there's a mixture there. But First Killer generally, it seems like, is the one who will, like, the team is built around him. And he just hasn't reached that pinnacle, that height just yet. First Killer, though, like, if he would have made Sprain and had, like, another top 4 performance, he probably would have bumped up to, like, number 3 on this list. But because of Spring, it wasn't that great. I have him at number 5, but obviously he can climb back up. I think it'll be an interesting offseason for First Killer, no matter what happens with FaZe at this World Championship, because we always know First Killer is always doing something, always trying to make his team better, or maybe he finally leaves and joins some other team. But we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. But I think First Killer is still a phenomenal talent. You look at his numbers in NA, he would have won MVP. Like, if he would have made Spring Major, very likely, I think he would have won NA MVP. And who knows, maybe he did, because I don't honestly know. It hasn't been announced by the time I'm making this video. But he didn't make Spring, and apparently Jack had a good Spring Major. Hey, Ryan, want to say hi? Hold on. All right, hold on. We're doing a Giblet breakdown. All right, who's the best player? Who's the best player?
Daddy.
There you go. Number 1, Daddy. All right, now say bye. And I'll turn this on and say, oh, here. I got to turn on his tablet. Hold on. Sorry. A little bit of a break here in the video. There you go. Go have fun. All right. Moving on. First Killer, number 5. All right. Moving on. Number 4, we got Alpha. Is it 54? I think it's 54, right? I always forget the numbers. If it's not 54, it's going to be embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure it is. Let me, yeah, whatever. We'll just talk. So, Alpha has been a huge bonus or boon to Vitality and what they're doing. We look at Boston. We look at the clutch moments. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. When they needed a clutch goal, Alpha was there to put it in. It is 54. All right, I just had to look it up. I always forget the numbers and the weird spells. Big time moments in big time games are so important for a Rocket League player to be able to do. That is something very, very difficult. Obviously, a lot of pressure on the line, but Alpha, he put in some clutch moments. Game 7 winners, yada, yada, the works. Alpha is a very talented player. He's only getting better with Zen. And I think sometimes when you bring in a player that is very, very good, it's going to downgrade the other players. Did I spell this wrong? No, I didn't. I don't know why these... All right, hold on. Ignore all. Ignore all. So it looks prettier. All right. So, Alpha 4, when you bring in a better player, like Zen, sometimes the other players get downgraded a bit, right? Because there's only so much you can do on a field when there's like 3 godlike players. Like if you put the 3 best players in the world together, like our top 3 here that are about to come up, I think most people know what this list is going to be. You put them on a team together. In general, when you do a top 10 next year, they're going to be sprinkled throughout. They're not going to be top 3 anymore, right? Because there's just not enough to go around. But Alpha is still making his moments count, even with a player like Zen on his team. So kudos to him. Moving on. Number 3, we are going to go with the Monkey Moon. I don't think there's a space, right, in his name? There might be, but I'm not really sure. Monkey Moon. This guy, even though BDS was having a hard time throughout this year, putting up numbers, playing extremely well, and it just felt like he was trying to carry this team to something. Maybe at a fault, maybe. But I think the talent is so incredibly strong. I would say he was probably the #1 player in the world. Maybe not last year, or maybe like halfway through last year, and then like Vatira came on, right? So like around that time. But then for like a year and a half before that, he was like the #1 player in the world. He is still an incredible talent, and he hasn't downgraded at all yet. Like top 3 so on this list is fantastic. So Monkey Moon, I really like what I see from him. A very controlled player, but he's been doing work for BDS throughout the entire year, but he finally got to show it on the international stage and performed exceptional there as well. Moving on, number 2, Vatira. So if the past year, probably about the past year and a half, Vatira's been that #1 guy, right? He will leave a team, make his own team with players you don't expect to perform at like the best in the world level and make them amazing. Like Exotic had like a world championship that was fantastic last year, but besides that, we didn't really know much about him. So he's a big question mark. Picks up him. Like Itachi's always been a very good player, but never like in that top 10 conversation. Now he's in that top 10 conversation. Vatira makes players around him better, and he's just so good. He's so confident as well, and he's so hungry, and that's the thing I love. And I think the thing we always talk about NA versus EU, it just feels like EU, they're just hungrier at times. And I know that's like a cop-out, but Vatira really wants it. You can tell every time he loses, outside of that one loss he had at Boston. Maybe he's getting a little bit better about losing because he's done so much in his career. But 2-time major champion, Vatira is outclassed by no one except for one, and we all know what #1 is, Zen. Zen, I would have had at #2 going into Boston, wanted to see what he would do, and then he's just fantastic. There was that 3-on-1 play on defense where he just makes a fantastic play and gets a counterattack out of it. Zen on both sides of the field. We already know what he can do on the offensive side. We see the highlights. We see the top 10 plays. But what he does on defense, what he does in rotations, he's just so incredibly smart. I did see, I think one of the YouTube commenters on a previous video said, Farah normally will watch from Zen's point of view because Zen is more aware on the field than anyone else. So he'll be looking around a lot. So Farah can see what's going on a lot more through that camera. Supposedly Farah said that on a stream. I have not caught that one. But I'm going to take that commenter's words and just put them here and make them truth. But Zen, so good. The one question mark was LAN. He comes out waving the USA flag and just having fun with it and performing in the biggest moments on offense, on defense, at midfield. It doesn't matter. Zen has been perfect throughout his short career in the RLCS, and it's very difficult to not have him at #1 right now, entering Worlds. So there you go. Top 10 players entering Worlds. Let's full screen this. No, we'll see like this. There you go. Top 10 players entering Worlds. Screen cap it. Put it up wherever you want. Argue with me in the comments. Feel free to point out who you think should have made this list. Who did I forget on the nominees as well? Because I probably forgot someone that I wasn't really thinking about. But this is my list. Top 10 going into Worlds. I think it's a pretty solid list all in all. But North America, you got to catch back up. I want to see more North American players on this list next year. But that'll do it for me. This was a little bit of a longer video. I apologize. I'm trying to keep them like 15 minutes, bite-sized content. But a little bit longer here. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the wild card. This video is going out on Wednesday. The wild card starts the next morning on Thursday. So definitely check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then obviously main event. I will be there for the main event. I fly out on the weekend to get there for the main event. So it's going to be a fantastic time. We'll still try and have videos throughout. I'm going to try and do a recap of the wild card while I'm in my hotel room, but we'll see how that all pans out. Who knows how good the internet is. So I will try, but I'll definitely have a video for at least the Wednesday during the World Championship. So that'll do it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll go just under 20 minutes here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.